Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rent Prep for Landlords. This is episode number 208, Steve.
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to get it right this time.
208? What do you want me to say?
I knew it was 208.
I'm trying to, do some research ahead of time.
Good.
Look at what we did last week.
Yeah.
Pretend like I care, like that whole thing.
You're well prepared.
So this week we got some really interesting topics we're going to be talking about in the news, 3 recent news articles. So we'll give you guys a teaser right now. We're going to be talking about racist lawyer bro getting evicted. If you're not familiar with that story, it's kind of hysterical.
Yeah, been all over the news.
Yep.
Seen it. I checked out his website just for the heck of it.
We're also talking about a convicted felon who lied to pass a background check and shot his landlord.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're also going to be talking about mortgage rates and how they are actually at an all-time high right now.
Yes.
But first, we got to roll that sweet intro music.
Do it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Welcome to the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And now your hosts, Stephen White and Eric Worrell.
All right, let's get right into the episode, Steve. You said you're already on this guy's website. You're familiar with the racist lawyer bro, Aaron Schlossberg?
I am familiar. I saw the news story. I was intrigued. I went to the guy's website just to check his website out, see if it was still up or see if it had gotten spammed to the point where it was, crashed and down. It was still up. What I thought was hilarious was on the front of the website, he really pushes the fact that he's bilingual and services all kinds of people and doesn't matter if they speak English or not. And if you're familiar with the news story, or even if you're not, he got caught in this crazy rant at a restaurant in New York City,
Coffee shop.
He
said he went on a racist rant in a coffee shop against Latino employees speaking Spanish to other Spanish-speaking customers. How dare they?
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like he was triggered for no reason.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't watched the video. Is it pretty bad?
Yeah, he wasn't part of the conversation. It wasn't like it had anything to do with him.
It seems like a pretty deep-seated insecurity if somebody's speaking another language around you that it bothers you that much.
It was real bizarre. I don't know what would have triggered him, but yeah, I mean, especially if you're in New York City, you just I mean, you're around that a lot. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if a Spanish-speaking customer comes in and starts speaking Spanish to the Spanish-speaking or whatever, Russian-speaking, doesn't matter. Their native language. And this guy felt it was important for him to push all of his opinions on everyone. And unfortunately for him, somebody was there with a video camera, obviously their phone or whatever, recording him. And it didn't take very long to catch on. And now he's found himself in all kinds of different trouble.
Yeah. Well, for somebody that might not be familiar with the story, he basically went on a tirade threatening to call ICE on the workers, assuming they were undocumented.
Right.
So
turns out none of them were, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes it even more awesome.
Yep.
So he ended up getting stalked by reporters because this video goes viral. So protests have been taking place outside of his office with tacos and a mariachi band.
Yeah, I love it.
I got some images that maybe I'll include in the show notes here of the mariachi band and everything. So it's an absolute circus outside of this property.
Right. Yep.
So it kind of actually put the landlord in a bind because he has other tenants that are at this property. So basically the landlord said, hey, you're out.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty awesome, actually. I think it's probably the most well-received tenant eviction and maybe in the history of time.
Right. Yeah, and what else I thought was funny was in one day, that guy managed to rack up over 2,000 negative reviews on Google.
Yeah.
So it was
it goes to show you, like, in the day and age we live in, like, don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't say what this guy said, obviously, regardless of the fact that people have cell phones on them, to do video. But it's like, what are you doing?
I know. He just single-handedly destroyed his business. And again, not very smart on his part. Should have flown under the radar a bit more because now the Bar Association took up issue with him because he is not part of the New York State Bar Association.
They said they've never heard of him.
Oh, my God.
And he listed on the website that he's a member of the Bar Association.
Yeah.
So this guy's, he's done.
Yeah. He's very foolish mistake on his part, but I can't blame the landlord. I mean, especially if it's affecting his other tenants. Can you imagine if you have a crowd like that gathering, or you know what I mean, and you're another tenant in that building? You're just unfortunate enough to have to share a space, and now your business is affected by that.
Do you think that that's probably what they evicted him on, is grounds for just like quiet, peaceful enjoyment. I mean, it's got to be affecting the businesses.
that's
if
what
you can't park, there's all this congestion. There's just a absolute, media circus going on.
100%. He probably had a tenancy at will.
Yep.
The landlord can execute his right at any moment to say, I'm done with this. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And props to rawstory.com, where we found this story. And also, they're really clickbaity ads on the side. I know the one caught your eye. What does it say? Ohio man gets shot by his Maytag oven after his gun safety plan goes horribly awry.
Yeah, your mind just wanders.
How do you not click?
I know. I want to know what his gun safety plan was.
You can't give in. You can't give in to the clickbait.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next story. This next one, I feel like you're going to have a lot of good insights on. This one is talking about a convicted felon who lies to pass a background check and then uses gun he bought to shoot his landlord.
Well, let's be clear. The background check was not a tenant screening background check.
Correct.
The background check that they're talking about, they don't specify in the title, but in the body of the article, they mention it's an NCIS background check that is done when you're purchasing a weapon.
Okay.
So this was a background check for the purchase of the weapon, not because he was renting from the landlord. The landlord wasn't the one who ran the background check.
Okay.
What is shocking to me is...
Well, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
Explain to me NICS background check that the FBI is using. What is that exactly?
So that is a database that the FBI obviously maintains and has control over. It's known to have all kinds of issues that have been brought up over the past couple of years about not only the efficiency, but the accuracy of the reporting. I can't remember what the numbers were, but I remember them showing the office where these background checks are pulled. And because of some law, they basically said, I think the NRA had a huge hand in this law that said, we don't want to put all of these people's information into a computer system. So everything has to be pulled by hand, which makes it very inefficient, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting these requests into this office and pulling the data and pulling the information by hand instead of being able to just pull it up in a database or on a computer and to be able to look it up and search it really quickly. So there has been some issues in the past with it. And I know that, again, watching that or reading that news article or watching, can't remember which one it was, but they had mentioned too that even the people working there were concerned that, listen, this is not a very effective system. The system is broke. It doesn't work very well. So this is a clear case of somebody that slipped through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
The system didn't work the way it was supposed to. Within hours, the guy purchases 2 firearms, goes out and shoots his landlord, which it sounds to me like he was planning on doing anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And on here it says that he just listed a phony social security number.
Yeah.
So I think that, maybe a takeaway for landlords, even though this isn't a story about a landlord kind of getting mixed up here, is if you are getting identifiers and information from people, like maybe they didn't have a photo ID that matched him to this social security number. Maybe the person who sold him the guns didn't, take that extra step, but it's always worth taking that extra step, whether it's looking at a driver's license, looking at some records to see if this information on your rental application matches up with the actual person that you talk to. Right.
So now we carry a product on our site called Smart Move. If anyone's done rental properties, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a TransUnion product that runs a person's credit, eviction, and criminal records. Smart Move has a identity authentication mechanism in place that requires not only for them to verify their social, date of birth, but then it asks what's called out-of-wallet questions that only that person should be able to answer about their credit. So it'll ask things like, last month you paid a car payment. Was it to Ford, Chevy, or GM?
Yep.
Based on the fact that he's got a Mustang, he would say Ford or whatever. Mm-hmm. So believe it or not, that system is probably more secure and accurate as far as authenticating somebody's identity than the FBI system as it is currently.
Yeah, because at least you got to know those kind of questions that only that person should know.
Right. I mean, it would be very difficult for me to just use your soch, go on there and accurately answer those questions, because sometimes it gets really specific about dollar amounts. About
towns you
date
lived
ranges,
in, streets, what car model did you have a loan on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had a hard time thinking about the answers sometimes. Where
I feel that stuff all the time. It's like those little like things where it's like put in the code at the bottom of the screen with the squiggly line through it, where the letters are backwards, and right. I'm like 1 for 4 usually on those.
Yeah.
I feel like. Is
there a space there? What is that? Is it a 0 or an O? I can't
Smart
tell.
enough to stop robots and humans.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that does it for that story. But the
landlord lived. I think that's important to mention also.
Yes.
The bullet missed his heart by an inch. I mean,
yes.
thankfully. So.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you guys can probably guess, but it was about him paying his rent.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, you know what, though? I wonder, too, if that landlord ran any background checks on him, because he already was a convicted felon, too. So, I mean, there's kind of a few issues with this story where it's like, you can never be too safe to make sure that you're getting all the information on the people you're renting to, so you're not putting yourself, at risk. I think we usually think about evictions, but you don't think about your own personal safety when you're running a background check.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Okay. All right. This next story comes to us from marketwatch.com. And this is by Andrea Requier. She's saying that the mortgage rates have reached a 7-year high in the housing market. So, Steve, I know you're familiar with this because you're in the process of buying a house.
I'm buying a personal home, and I selfishly could not be happier to hear this news because it is so competitive right now, where there's probably 50 home buyers for every available home. And so what's
at least in the Buffalo market. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's happening is this ridiculous bidding war, and it's driving the prices for everything up. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's going to be a bubble. I'm sure it's going to crash at some point, but I think it's because, again, we're sort of in this time where you've got unemployment rates at an all-time low. Mortgage rates were low for years and years on end. Mm-hmm. I think it's, it's just a perfect storm where I couldn't tell you how many times I've put an offer in, and the offer doesn't even make it, past the first step, because they'll come back and say, "Oh, sorry, we've already accepted an offer on this an hour ago." And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" I mean, it's happened. I feel like it's happened 10 times over the past week.
I'm looking for your rationale here, because I thought you would be kind of bummed that the mortgage rates are going up because you're going to get locked.
I'm getting a VA loan, man. I don't care. It's not going to be that much lower, but
well, for somebody listening who's not familiar with how the VA loans work, what's the advantage for you being a veteran, and how does that work?
So the biggest advantage of a VA mortgage is the PM. You don't have to pay the PMI insurance.
Okay.
So that's going to reduce your monthly mortgage for a few years, obviously.
So you can put 5% down instead of 20%.
Zero.
Yeah,
0%. If you want. Yeah. So you can. I think it's up to 0%. There's a cap on the amount. I think it's $360 or close to it. Like you can't go above that amount.
Okay.
But yeah, the rate is favorable. It's usually right in line with what the national average is, maybe a little bit less, but it's not really the rate so much. It's more the PMI insurance that additional monthly payment that you're making for the first few years of your mortgage until you pay it down.
Yep. Yeah. That can definitely be a silent killer for cash flow for sure.
Yeah. So, but I just did a refi and squeaked in right before the rate change too. So I did take advantage. I knew it was coming. I had a really good broker that was aware and in tune with all this stuff, and had convinced me to lock in the rate and said it's going up. And sure enough, it's been going up. So
are you hoping that as this mortgage rate continues to climb, that you'll be locked in at your rate, and that maybe it won't be so competitive to buy a house just because there's going to be less people buying?
Yeah. And I wonder also what it's going to do for the investment market as well. You know what I mean? I mean, right now, I don't know about any listeners out there in your market, but if you're living in a neighborhood and you've had busloads of people come by because they're with the local flipping school, it's becoming saturated, this whole flipping thing. Did you know that there's an actual video game now for PlayStation with flipping? Yeah,
no.
That's legitimate. I could not believe it. My son had said something about this game that his friend was playing, and I was like, house flipping? Looked it up. Sure enough, it's a video game where you can flip houses. And I was like, man, this has finally reached critical mass when they make a video game after it. Like, I don't know.
They got to gamify everything,
Yeah, but it seems like it's getting beaten down to the point where maybe this will, level the playing field a little bit more, or maybe unlevel it a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that does it for our In the News segment. But up next, we have the Landlord Hotline. So we've got this actually set up on a few pages on our website as well, or you guys can call in. I actually don't remember the number off the top of my head. I think it's like 716-218, some number. You can find it in the description of the episode if you really want to call in. You can leave us a voicemail, ask us some questions. But this one, we have a call that came in from somebody who's a tenant. So cool. I'm going to play that for us here, and then we can discuss.
Hi, I live in Canada, but I have a very odd situation that maybe you can email me back and give me some idea what I can do. I'm living in a condo. It's a 3-story condo. I'm in the middle. The guy upstairs has gone back to Thailand, but I keep getting fumes from up there. It's coming through the floorboards, and everybody says, how Kennedy's not there? Well, I think somebody's going in at night and working on whatever's going on up there. My fumes are kind of a musky smell sometimes a real sweet smell. It's sickening. I don't know. It's just puffs in and puffs in. It comes in the morning. It comes in at night. Nobody can figure it out. They go, well, he's away. How can this happen? But it is happening. I'm sick. I have sore eyes. I cough, cough, cough. I'm very fatigued. I'm tired. Burning eyes. There's something going on. Perhaps you can get back to me, even if I am up in Canada, and give me some idea how I can nail this down so I can catch the guy. Anyway, I hope this is enough information. Please email me back if you have any good answers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I love Canadians.
I know. So polite.
Got a problem, man. I wonder if you can help me hear about it.
Yeah.
I love it. Here's my guess. The way that she's describing, does it sound like a vape pen?
Oh, are they sweet? I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I was in line the other day.
Vaping?
Nope. I was with my son. We were standing outside in line.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy in front of us, and he was smoking this vape pen. First off, I don't smoke vape pens, as you could probably tell. I always assumed that they were skinny, thin vape pen looking things. This thing was huge.
Yeah.
You could see the juice in it, and it was big. It looked like a cologne. Like, no, I'm not exaggerating. It looked like a bottle of cologne.
Yeah.
With like a mouthpiece on it. I was I don't know what that is.
I've seen some people driving with those, and then they look like dragons. There's just like all this like cloud of smoke coming out of their car.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I always thought the vape pens were supposed to be like inconspicuous as far as like the smoke and things.
Yeah.
But it seems like, I don't know, maybe you could turn a setting up and you're right. They're like dragons, like plumes. Well, anyway, this guy was doing it, and it was this plume of smoke. And the closest thing I can describe it to, it was like a cross between like a cigar type of a smell, like a Swisher Sweet sort of smell, but also had like a chemical-y something else going on in there. I that's immediately what I thought when she's like, my eyes are burning. It has kind of a sweet smell sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody is going up there and smoking. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. You wonder if maybe the situation is the person did go to Thailand for a long time, but they gave a key to somebody else who, go ahead and use my apartment, or what the situation is.
Or maybe you got a squatter up there, somebody who knows that they're in Thailand.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for her to do, obviously, notify the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Let the landlord know this is a concern. If it gets to the point where the landlord feels that they have to enter, like when you told me smells in the apartment, I've heard horror stories before of dead bodies.
Yeah.
You know, where eventually somebody's got to go in there and check. Somebody has to go in there and see what the smell is, what's happening, what's going on.
That wouldn't be so sweet.
No. Yeah, well, that's why I crossed that one off the list. I don't think anyone's ever described a dead body as kind of sweet smelling.
Yeah.
But it might be something that the landlord's got to communicate. And maybe the landlord calls the guy and the guy goes, oh yeah, I gave the key to my brother.
Yeah.
He's been coming over. Maybe that's it.
He's making math.
Right. Or maybe
sweet math.
Right. Or maybe the guy in Thailand is immediately concerned and says, nothing should be going on up there. Can you check it?
Yeah.
So her first step obviously should definitely be to contact the landlord, let the landlord know, hey, there's something out of the ordinary here. You don't want to discount her as just being paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
She lives there. She obviously knows if something's off.
Yeah.
I mean, you live in a place long enough, you know if something's weird, a smell you're not used to smelling or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't just dismiss it and be like, well, you're probably crazy and you don't smell anything.
Yeah.
I would take it serious if I was the landlord and say, okay, let's get to the bottom of it and figure out what it might be. Yeah. Maybe it's someone below her. She's in the middle unit. So why not somebody below her?
Yeah. I thought she said something about the floorboards, smelling it through the floorboards. And I was like, well, does she mean like her floorboards? Because that would be something beneath her.
Right,
but
right.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an issue, though. I know we've got some blog posts that do pretty well on odors and things of that nature, because that's definitely a huge issue for people in apartment buildings and that. But speaking of people going overseas that are paying for an apartment, one of my renters texted me a couple of days ago and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be studying abroad for 3 months. I was planning on paying you via Venmo is what we use. And he said, it turns out I can't send those payments from Spain. Do you mind if I just pay you 3 months in advance?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah. No.
So I got a text today and it's just like, you've been paid 3 months rent. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's pretty sweet. I wonder, what do you think? Because of exchange? No, there shouldn't be any exchange fees.
I don't know. Like, did they check like the IP address and can tell that you're paying?
Yeah.
I don't know why that system wouldn't work from over there.
Yeah. I guess that sort of makes sense for from a security point of view. If anything gets hacked, you know what I mean? I get that.
And I should mention, because if somebody's listening, they're like, "Oh, I got to switch to Venmo for payments." It's worked out great for me, but one of the downsides that I've researched is that somebody can do a chargeback and dispute a payment to you.
That would be a nightmare.
Yeah. If you have renters that you're maybe worried about your relationship with them, and you think it might end messy, and they're paying you rent on Venmo or PayPal or something like that, they can easily dispute a payment, and you might lose a rent check or two.
I hate disputes, and I think we're at like a 50-50 right now with our disputes. We don't get them very often. Our dispute rate is super low. We're lucky to get maybe 1 or 2 a month, if that, at times. And we used to, we would win them all. Hey, we ran a background check. This person just disputed. A lot of times the person would end up coming back and going, "Oh, I didn't realize that that's what it was for," or whatever. But lately we've been losing those. And, you're talking $30-$40.
Yeah.
If it's $800 or $1,000 for rent, that's going to be a low blow.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah. Well, I believe that does it for this episode of Rent Prep for Landlords. We're actually broadcasting these live into our Facebook group too. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, it's just Rent Prep for Landlords. You can search for it on Facebook groups. When you go to the group, you'll be asked a few questions before you enter, because we try to keep the group to landlords, property managers, real estate investors. Be sure to check that out. And thank you to everybody who reached out last week looking for a free bandana. We had mentioned that. I'm actually wearing one in the video right now.
I didn't want it to mess my hair up, so I didn't wear it.
Yeah, some of us are, we're lucky. We don't have to worry about your simpleton problems.
Right.
But yeah, we'll be sending those out soon. And I've been having a good time emailing back and forth with some of the members and the podcast listeners. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, trying to, give the community vibe that it deserves. People who are in it and engage and are active get a ton out of it. And so we just want to try to give back a little bit. And anybody who's not a member, I would certainly encourage you to join up. And we get nothing out of it other than seeing really good interaction take place, where if a landlord runs into a situation, he has a community of people that probably have had that same situation and can give really helpful, thoughtful advice on it.
Or sometimes Monica posts a picture of a really jacked guy painting a wall, and it's a meme, and it says something about, "I don't know what's broke at my house, but it's broke now." And then I got to go in and delete it because the people kept reporting it. Yeah. So I got to talk to Monica about that.
That's funny.
Yeah. Sometimes there's funny stuff in there too.
I love it.
Ooh, one last note that we got here. Megan Roth of the Facebook group, she had a really good point about the Venmo not working. And I like how I said the Venmo. It makes me sound like, the Facebooks.
The Facebook.
But she had a good comment about Venmo possibly not working in other countries, because if this is something you're using and your tenant goes out of country for a little bit, they may not be able to pay you rent. And she said it may have to do with IP or the technology of the other country. And let's see, she said it could be the laws in the other country or a copyright IP issue, as some apps have limited use. So I thought that was a good comment from Megan Roth. And Debbie says, "Hi, guys. We'll throw you into the podcast too, Debbie." So
now, if your tenant was really tech savvy, he'd get a VPN.
Yep.
Get his
route that from Wichita.
Exactly. Route the VPN back to the US so that nobody even knows.
Or you can just pay rent ahead of time.
Yeah, that seems probably easier.
Yeah.
And better for the landlord.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next week, guys, we look forward to episode 209 of the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And we'll be doing the In the News segments and Landlord Hotline. So if you're looking for these specific news stories, they will be included in the show notes. So check that out. All right. Take care.